Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Joni Parsons. I'm co-creator of Rebel 11, along with Monica Smith. We created Rebel 11 about 4.5 years ago to create edgy, informative, and fun events and retreats for women around the globe. So thank you so much for joining us today. Well, I am so glad that we're here to talk about sleep today because I didn't get much last night. Can you tell from the bags underneath my eyes? And I don't know why that was. I didn't drink any wine last night? Was it my hormones? Was I stressed? Did I have something in my mind that was keeping me awake? Oh, and I do have a puppy and he had a little input there as well. I know it's just so frustrating, isn't it, when you just can't, you're tossing and turning and you just can't fall back to sleep and that's all you want to do. So a little bit of a stat here. Did you know that insomnia is considerably more common in women than in men? Higher rates of insomnia in women have been found in numerous studies, and some estimates place the lifetime risk of insomnia at 40% for women. In my estimation, that's way too high. I think I am 40% in that 40%. So I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Carol Yuan, who will give us tips for better sleep. Dr. Yuan, welcome. It's so nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Joni.
How are you today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. And you are in New Jersey.
I am in New Jersey. Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry to hear you didn't get a great night's sleep last night.
No, I didn't. And it's so frustrating to be tossing and turning like I was last night. And really all I wanted to do was just fall back to sleep. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna put my hands on my heart, like all of these little tips that I do sometimes, but unfortunately they didn't work very well last night. So I'm very happy you're here today.
Well, I guess hopefully today's talk is gonna help you get better sleep tonight.
Thank you. I hope so too. Take it away, Dr.
All right.
Carol.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carol. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to be here and have this opportunity to talk to you about sleep. 8 might be a familiar number to many of you for the optimal number of hours of sleep. But is that true for all? And what about you? How many hours of sleep works best for you? And what happens if you don't get enough? How about let's start here. Type in the comment section the answer to this. How many hours of sleep did you get last night? 7, 10, 8, 6, 6, 9, 5. Okay, 2, 7, 6.5. All right, 7. That's about right. That's the expected hours of sleep most adults need. By the end of the talk today, you'll learn why you should care about your sleep, including knowing how many hours of sleep work best for you. We're going to talk about the steps to find out the amount of sleep that you need. And I'm also going to talk to you about 3 things that you need to know to start getting better sleep tonight. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm here today speaking with you. As a board-certified sleep physician, I'm passionate about helping women, you, get more quality sleep. In 2020, after almost a decade of being in clinical practice, I decided to branch out and created a telehealth sleep consultation service for women. I'm also a mother of 2. Working full-time while growing a family, I realized that women face many unique sleep challenges. And I believe as a mom, woman, and a sleep doctor, I have the unique vantage point to understand these challenges, help women overcome and achieve better sleep and healthier lives. Most sleep science is based on men's bodies. And for decades, science has looked at the female bodies simply as a smaller version as the men. But we know that's not true. Our bodies work very differently. Over time, our changing bodies, hormones, menopause, pregnancy, menstrual cycles means our sleep patterns can change too. So women especially need solutions that's personalized to their life stages and lifestyle. So did you know that 40% of women get less than 7 hours of sleep every night? And more than 1 in 2 women are sleep deprived, especially moms. Sleep deprivation is a global epidemic. Women, we also suffer from poor quality sleep. 80% of women at some point in our lifetime experience insomnia symptoms like tossing and turning in bed, worried about not sleeping, waking up frequently at night, or at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't go back to sleep. So what happens when we don't get enough sleep? Here's a healthy banana. And here's one that's been on the counter too long. The skin's gone spotty and it probably tastes bland and mushy, no longer has that sweet smell and flavor. Lack of sleep has the same effect. It drains the life from us. Short sleep causes lines, wrinkles, dark spots, anxiety, depression, stress. It weakens our immune system, makes it more likely to get an infection. Hormones can wreak havoc, causing weight gain or feeling tired. It also increases the risk for heart problems, cancer, and dementia. And it can affect our relationships with family, friends, and coworkers. Lack of sleep is a problem that women face starting very early in life. In puberty, teen girls on the same amount of sleep as boys are more likely to feel tired and sleepy. And throughout our reproductive years, from late teens to 40s, for almost 3 decades, many women experience tiredness, restless sleep every month around the time of menstruation. Pregnancy is often the beginning of many sleepless nights for moms. And it's not until the child's 6-year-old birthday that parents can start getting some regular sleep back. The average age at menopause for women in the US is in the early 50s. But sleep disturbances from hormonal shifts can start a decade before her last menstruation. Insomnia from anxiety and stress, hot flashes and night sweats, getting up at night to urinate are all very common in menopausal and postmenopausal women. And in the US and around the world, women are often the default caregivers in our society. So women carry a high mental load, juggling the demands of family, kids, and work. And with our ever expanding to-do list, women stay up later at night trying to catch up on work, social media, packing lunch boxes. At the same time, women are also waking up earlier in the morning, trying to get a head start on the day. Well, simple math tells us that when cutting from both ends, the length shortens. When we go to bed later and wake up earlier, we get less sleep. You know what? I came across an ad the other day for something that's really cool. Let me read it to you. Amazing breakthrough. Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory and makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It keeps you slim and lowers food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It fights off colds and the flu. It lowers your risk of heart attacks, strokes, and diabetes. You even feel happier, less depressed, and less anxious. The cost? It's free. Wow. Doesn't that sound like the elixir of life? Guess what it is? Sleep. Like many other good things in life, getting restful sleep takes commitment, priority, and knowledge. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that you need to know to get better sleep. Number 1, sleep need. The average amount of sleep most adults needs over a 24-hour period is between 7 to 9 hours. Yours may be a little bit more or less, and it's all normal. We don't all need the often quoted 8 hours. You can find out your sleep need based on past experiences. There may have been a time when you felt great getting a consistent amount of sleep. Or you might know your sleep minimum. Getting less than that, you'd feel horrible. You can also try an experiment called sleep vacation. Take about a 2-week period when you have a flexible schedule. Pick a consistent bedtime and do not use an alarm to wake up. For the first few days, your sleep might vary as your body is trying to adjust. But keep going to bed at the same time, and eventually you'll establish a pattern that's going to tell you your sleep need. Number 2, circadian rhythm. Our circadian rhythm is our inner biology clock. It regulates our sleep-wake cycle. People with the earlier circadian rhythm, they prefer going to bed and waking up earlier. They're also known as the morning larks, and they make up about 40% of us. Night owls are just the opposite, and they're about 30% of the population. The rest, we lie somewhere in between the morning and evening types. You can find out your circadian rhythm based on your sleep pattern when you're on vacation, or really any time when you don't have to follow a set schedule. There's also a questionnaire that sleep researchers and providers use. You can find them online. Just Google morningness, eveningness questionnaire. And it tells you your circadian rhythm type based on answering a few questions about your sleep preferences. So we get our best quality sleep, meaning deep, consolidated, refreshing sleep, by being in sync with our natural rhythm. And to understand your sleep, keep a sleep diary. Nowadays, that's actually pretty easy with personal technology. With smartphones, you can download sleep apps like there's a sleep score or sleep cycle. I'm not affiliated with any of them, but just to give you some examples. The sleep watches, a lot of them also come with sleep tracking abilities. Otherwise, you can use just a plain pen and paper. So every day, write down the exact times you went to bed and got up in the morning. Also, the number of times you woke up at night and the time it took for you to go back to sleep. Keep a record for about 1 to 2 weeks and then look for any pattern. then compare that pattern to your intrinsic sleep need and circadian rhythm. The goal is to give your body what it needs when it needs it. Number 3, thing that you need to know to get better sleep, sleep debt. That's the difference between your sleep need and the amount of sleep that you're actually getting. So occasional night of lost sleep, less sleep because of stress, illness, traveling, or dogs, it's normal. But if you have a lot of sleep debt from months and years of neglecting sleep, it could be detrimental and causing irreversible damages. Knowing your sleep balance is important because it's just like that $2 monthly subscription. Sleep debt can sneak up on you if you don't pay attention. 1 hour of less sleep every night in a month is 30 hours. In a year, it's 365 hours of burning that midnight oil when your body is supposed to rest, repair, and recover. A penny saved is a penny lost also applies to sleep, especially when life circumstances don't allow us to get the full amount. Then getting just 15 or 30 minutes more by way of napping or going to bed earlier can add up in a positive way. Knowing your sleep debt is the first step toward getting better sleep. The next step is to identify potential problems, like behaviors or beliefs that may directly affect sleep. For example, drinking coffee late in the day can cause difficulty staying and falling asleep. Alcohol can also create problems late in the night, even if they make you feel sleepy at bedtime. Eating or exercising too close to bedtime can send a mixed signal to our circadian rhythm and confuse the body about whether to rev up or wind down. So perhaps you have experienced that, where your behavior might have directly impacted sleep. Well, sleep is the elixir of life. And as women, we have to fight harder to keep our share, our obligations, ambitions, people we care about, our own hormones can all get in the way. So do an inventory of your sleep need, sleep debt, and follow your circadian rhythm. You can get started right away tonight on improving your sleep. And I believe I just gave you some homework to do. It's really my pleasure today to share the message about the importance of sleep with you. And thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. If you want to know more and learn more about your sleep, we're going to put my contact information in the chat. Please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Next, we have our Q&A, and I look forward to any thoughts, comments, and questions you might have.
Thank you, Carol, Dr. Carol, so much for that information. A couple of questions. First of all, there was a lot of questions about the, you said to Google resource. Could you put that in the chat for us so that everybody can get that documented?
Absolutely.
And then we have several questions that we'd love to talk with you about. As you're typing. One came in from Monica, who is our co-creator. And as you're doing that, she was wondering if melatonin in small doses is okay to take for a long period of time. And, you know, how do you feel about melatonin? What's your recommendation?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And it's a common question. In general, melatonin, because it's an over-the-counter medication, so it makes people feel safe. compared to the bigger gun medication that you might get from the doctors.
Right.
So melatonin is a natural hormone that's secreted from the hypothalamus in our brain. And the production, follows a day-night cycle where during the daytime, there's minimum. And at night, in the evening, it starts to surge and peak in the early morning. And what it does, it exactly makes us feel sleepy. So it helps us fall asleep and stay asleep. Over-the-counter melatonin, the issue with them is because they're not FDA regulated, at least in the US. In Europe, it is different. Because it's not FDA regulated, so what it contains may not match the label, both meaning in terms of the ingredient and the dosage. And so the studies have found that it really vary both ways in terms of the dosage could be a lot less than what the label says, or it could be a lot more, and there's just no way to know.
Mhm.
So that's one issue that I have with melatonin. And number two is ultimately most people use melatonin exactly for the purpose I just talked about, to help them fall asleep. So in a way, and in that sense, it is a Band-Aid. It's treating the symptom of not sleeping and not the cause. So in that sense, it's no different than if you just get a sleep medication or a over-the-counter cough medication to treat the cough, but sometimes not really knowing why you're coughing. So it could be allergy, it could be you have a cold, pneumonia, it could be from smoking, but you're just treating the symptoms. Same
So
with
your recommendation is to go back to the tips you just gave us to really understand your sleep rhythm and to really get in tune with your own body, because all of our bodies are different and we're all going to react differently.
exactly,
right?
yeah. So right, so your body is going to react differently even to the same medication, and also finding out why is it that there is an issue with not sleeping, and focus on that.
Right. So what is your opinion, this is from Chris, on sleep aids and other medications? Do you have any recommendations? I know that's hard for you as a doctor to be able to share that type of thing on this type of format, but is there anything that you could recommend?
So I think that that if again, it goes back to what is the problem and what's causing the problem. And so, and I think it's not just, because I'm a doctor and but it's just that you will find that the solution, it would be much more effective if you know what the problem is.
Right.
So, is it the anxiety? Is it the running thoughts? All right, so we'll focus on that. Then with that, maybe meditation, having a wind down period, having a bedtime routine would help. Is it because you're waking up at night using the restroom, going to pee too often? Then maybe trying to cut down on your liquid intake 30 minutes, an hour to 3 hours before bedtime. So what is the problem? And let's address that.
Mm-hmm. And how about women going through menopause and their hormones? What do you recommend for that, for them?
Yeah, so
big question.
Yeah. So but it helps always to go back to the basic. So I see a lot of women, a lot of things that they were able to do it, gone by earlier, and now it's catching up. So things that they could used to do and not causing a problem with their sleep, now with the menopause on top of that and the hormonal changes, starts to affect sleep. So if you find that your sleep is affected by menopause, then number one is talking to a menopause specialist about potentially hormone treatments or anything else that can help relieve the menopausal symptoms. But number two, in terms of sleep, is going back to the basics. So what we were saying about knowing what your sleep need and give your body exactly what it needs, no more, no less, knowing your circadian rhythm. Now it's a time where you really need to follow that. Maybe when you were younger, it doesn't matter that much, but now it's important. And so that's how even with menopause we can still get our best sleep by following the basics.
So thank you for that. There's so many great questions. How can you keep a good sleep routine if you have gotten used to sleeping late?
Yes, that is a great question. So so it's a matter of, number one is priority. I think that if you have gotten a taste of what good sleep can bring you, the energy level, the concentration, the focus, then that may be a motivation for you to make that change and stick with it. Number two is what I find, and that works for most people, is when you decide to make a change, don't all of a sudden make a dramatic change. Like you used to go to bed at 2, 3 o'clock, and all of a sudden you're going to bed at 10 p.m. That just doesn't work behaviorally or physiologically, but do it in increments. Take your time. Maybe shift that schedule over 3 months, 6 months. It's okay.
That's really good advice. I mean, I've always been a morning riser. I'm up between 4 and 5 generally. And if I mess with that at all, it completely screws me up for weeks even. So it is taking those baby steps. Another question is, if someone uses stronger medications like Ambien, I'm glad we're talking about this, is this still a solid real sleep, or does that mess with your natural sleep rhythms?
Yeah, so in general, we do know that with prescription medications, it can reduce deep sleep. But it's always a kind of a risk and benefit that you're weighing. Because it's not just the stages of sleep, which is the sleep architecture, but absolutely the amount is important also. So it's the problem that you're taking the Ambien for, the benefit you get from Ambien versus the potential risk that may come from taking the medication. So it's not a yes, no answer, but to your question, yes, we do know that sleep prescription hypnotics can have some effect on our sleep architecture.
Okay. And then how do you treat people with chronic sleep deprivation?
Yeah, chronic. Yeah, so that's a great question. Chronic sleep deprivation, a lot of times, no matter how it started, over time, there always some behavioral component to it. So that's where I would start to identify what may be some of the habits and behaviors that we can chip away and slowly improve and add up to your sleep amount by making slight changes to what you do before bedtime, what you do at night when you wake up and you can't go back to sleep, what you do first thing in the morning. So by making small changes over time, then the sleep debt can actually gradually reduce and go back to zero.
Okay. And then this is a great question for all of us. For me, for sure, last night, minus getting rid of the puppy, that was a really good part of getting back to sleep. But do you have tools in your toolbox that you use, doctor, that helps you get back to sleep that you could share with us?
Yes. So me personally, my so everybody is different, but my problems, I have the habit of whenever I wake up, I reach for my phone. First, I want to check the time. And two, then I just start checking other things.
Twirl, twirl, twirl. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did was I started to put my phone farther and farther away to wean myself off the phone. And two, the other thing that I did for myself was as soon as I wake up, no matter how awake I feel, I try to give myself maybe a few minutes to go back to sleep. And by trying, I mean actively try to block out any thoughts that may be just creeping in or rushing in in those hours at night. And just give myself that few minutes. If it doesn't work, then I'll maybe get up and do something else outside the bedroom. And once I feel sleepy again, I go back to bed.
Mm-hmm. Some of the tools that I've used and you can please share in the chat if you have any tools that work for you. Sometimes I'll go into another room and go to sleep, and just getting out of that tossing and turning has really helped me just ground back into another place and time. For some reason that works for me personally. And then the other one that I started using recently was a naturopath friend of mine. He gave me this coin that says on one side fear and the other side faith. And it's like, that's how you live. You can either live in fear of things that are happening, which is what happens to me in the middle of the night. All these things come up and it's like, how am I going to deal with this? Or faith that everything is going to work out really well. And I've used that faith thing, not a religious faith for me, but just faith that in positivity that things are going to work out. And that has really helped me recently. So, tools are different for everyone. And those have been two things that have helped me, although they didn't help me last night. And then the other one was just a yoga practice of putting, one hand on your heart and one hand on your solar plexus. And sometimes that helps as well, I have found. And then just to wrap this up, one last question: is reading at bedtime wrong?
No, well, so the textbook answer is really the bed should be reserved only for sleep and sex. And the reason for that is you want your brain to associate the bed only for peaceful resting and sleeping and nothing else. Mm-hmm. But if reading is something that's relaxing to you and it's part of your bedtime routine, is something that you associate with falling asleep, then reading is fine, just like any other wind down routine.
Yeah, I think so too. And someone just put in the chat, yin yoga is great for bedtime. There are so many great videos on YouTube for yin yoga, and it is such a relaxing, beautiful way to just do yoga and to get into your mind before bedtime. I would highly recommend that too. So Dr. Yuan, thank you so much for your time this morning. I certainly have some tips to utilize moving forward and hope you do too. Dr. Carol's information is in the chat, and I'll be sending out some additional information via email right after this. But thank you for joining us. We would love, thank you, Carol, so much.
Thank you,
all the
Joni,
way from New Jersey to Seattle. Thank you. It's so fun to be able to chat. I got a lovely recommendation from my dear cousin, Lisa Kleiman, who is our Pilates instructor, about Dr. Carol's. So we're so thrilled to have you join us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.